Hello everyone and welcome to this TouchDesigner tutorial. My name is Jay, socials are JPony, and today we've got a TouchDesigner tutorial where we're looking to create some visuals inspired by the works of Ryoji Ikeda, who one of my favorite artists, to be honest, of all time. If you're unfamiliar with his work, I would definitely recommend you check it out. It's very, although there are pops of color, generally speaking, it is very monochrome. Lots of lines, gradients, data visualization type of stuff. And so the work that you can see on the screen is what we're going to be going through today. The TOX files will all be available up on the Patreon. The link is in the bio. But yeah, let's get started. So, starting things off in TOX file number 1, we have a very simple vertical gradient bars effect. We're going to be using this as a base foundation or structure for the following TOX files. Essentially what we're doing is we've got an input, we're resizing to our desired resolution, we're then adjusting this to lower the pixel count to make it blocky, get this vertical effect, pixel art almost, and then we're upscaling and then outputting. So I'll just run you through how to create this. We're going to drop a noise top in, and we are going to change the type of the noise to simplex 4D. We're going to head over to transform. Let me just close this, it's a little distracting. We're going to go to the translate 4D and type in ABS time dot seconds. Right, and that there is just going to animate the noise. Okay, so now we've got our input, we've got a bit of movement, we've got some data, and now what we want to do is adjust the size of it so that it fits our desired aspect ratio. So we're going to add a fit top. Let me just move this down a little bit so it's out of the way. Okay, so now that we've got a fit top, we can obviously adjust the resolution in the common tab. Best practice, however, is to use a constant chop, which is a chop operator with a fixed value, which then can also be adjusted, but it doesn't fluctuate in any way. Once you've set it, it will just stay as it is. And we're going to use this constant chop as a global res. So just rename that to global res. There we go. Now we've got chan 1. By default, we're just going to change that to X, and then we're going to add another channel and change that to Y. We're going to go with 1280 by 720. The max resolution on the free version of TouchDesigner is 1280, so we'll just stick with that. And we want that kind of 16 by 9-ish aspect ratio. So we're then going to use these parameters in the global res chop as essentially as the global resolution for all of the operators. Now we just drag this onto the fit and then into the X channel for the resolution, and then same for the Y. Here we go. Now the fit is set to fit by best by default. Let's just go fit outside, doesn't really matter. Now as you can see, we've got the fit, we've got the noise rather in our desired resolution. Now we're going to add a resolution top, and we are doing this because now we want to descale custom resolution, descale the resolution itself to be very blocky and get the vertical pixel art kind of gradient bars. Now we're going to drop this to 20 by 70. And then we're going to change the input smoothness to nearest pixel, and the same with the viewer smoothness. So as you can see, now we've got the vertical gradient bars. Once we've done this, we then just want to upscale that again to a fit. Again, because we placed the global res chop, we're then going to use this for all of the other operators whereby we want to change their resolution. Because now if we adjust the global res stuff, It will then amend the resolution on all of the connected networks, or operators rather, and so we then don't have to do that all manually. And again, we want to change the input and viewer smoothness to nearest pixel, just to get things nice and crisp. If you have it on interpolate, I don't know how to say it, it will be very blurry and it will try to upscale. It's not going to do it very well. We like the intended sharp lines, vertical gradient bars, and so we are going to change that to nearest pixel. Right, now sorted. Just drag that to an out or a null, whatever you want it to be. And there you go. We have recreated our intended visuals. And that's that for TOX file number 1. So, starting things off in TOX file number 2, this is our intended outcome, and this is what we're aiming for. So, let's get started. As you can see from the network here, we've got our initial vertical gradient bars, and we are also producing some horizontal gradient bars. We're using a threshold on one of them, and then we're compiling those together with the composite top and the luminance difference operation. So, how do we make that? Well, utilizing what we made in the first TOX file, essentially what we're doing is, of course, we've got the vertical, we then just reproduce with horizontal in mind. Resolution. And so instead of having a custom resolution at 20 by 70, we're just going to adjust that to 70 by 20. And we're going to keep the input and viewer smoothness to nearest pixel. And there you have it. We have the horizontal gradient bars. Now we're just going to resize again with the fit, using the global res as the resolution for both X and Y, and an input smoothness to nearest pixel, the same with the viewer smoothness. Next up, we add a threshold, which essentially takes all of the data and reduces it to positive and negative values, I believe. It just limits it down to either white or nothing. And we are then going to use this output. We're going to take that into a composite. And we're then going to stick the fit output into that as well. Add this or swap this output onto that. There we go. And we're going to change this operation to luminance difference. And there you have it. We have recreated the intended visuals for TOX file number 2. So, kickstarting TOX file number 3. I have just had a coffee, so expect a bit more energy in this one. Structurally, very similar to TOX file 2. The only real difference is edge and displaced tops that we've added into the network. So these are the intended visuals. Let's get to recreating them. For the sake of ease, I'm also reusing the network that we had just built on in TOX 2. So hopefully you guys are following along, but if you're not, we have a noise top. We've resized it to fit our desired resolution. We've lowered the resolution on 2 versions of that, 2 iterations. We've got vertical gradient bars and horizontal gradient bars. We have then added a threshold to the horizontal ones, compiled those for this intended effect with the luminance difference. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to add the edge top to the vertical gradient bars. Just like so. There's the edge, there we go. And then we're going to add the output, drag the output of this edge into the comp, making sure not to replace the vertical gradient bars. We want to add all 3 of these outputs into the compile, or composite rather. Now we're just going to readjust the order of these. We want the, I think we want the edge on top. What did we do? Edge, threshold, fit. That is the order that we've gone for. Edge, threshold, and fit. Now, following this, we are just going to simply add a display stop. Now the display stop has two inputs. There is a source image and then a displace image. What we want to do is take this composite top to be both the source image but also the displace image, so that it displaces itself. And we're then just going to replace this output there, and there we have it. We have successfully recreated our intended visuals of TOX file number 3. TOX file number 4. These are the intended visuals, and let's just jump straight into this. It is a very simple tweak actually from the network that we just built in TOX file number 3. Essentially all that we're doing is removing this display stop. I'm just going to move this composite a little bit over, and we're going to add an emboss top after this threshold of the horizontal gradient bars. And there you have it. There are the intended visuals. So, just a quick one on TOX files. If you're unfamiliar with what those are, they are networks that have been collapsed in on themselves to function as a sort of complicated operator. Each operator, say this threshold for example, has its own function. The function of this is to produce a threshold effect. But you're able to collapse networks that you've built in on themselves, and let's save these TOX files and plug and play and daisy chain and build even more complicated networks. It also helps a lot with organization, and so yeah, I just thought I'd give you a quick rundown on how to produce a TOX file. You want to start with an in and end with an out. As you can see, we've ended with an out already. And once you've got yourself a network that starts with an in, ends in an out, you can then just collapse, highlight the whole thing, right click, collapse selected, and there you have it. The entire network has been collapsed in on itself and is now functioning as its own sort of mini complicated node. You can obviously zoom in at any point, tweak these. Let's just take this noise, come out, and you can literally insert anything into it, assuming it's of the same operator family. The outcome of this is obviously going to be the same because we've not changed anything, but if you tweak the parameters of this noise input, or this noise that we're using as an input, it will then go through the processing that we built and provide an outcome. You can obviously play around and tweak these, experiment. You can use a movie file, you can use literally any input really, and yeah, explore TouchDesigner in all of its glory. So these are the intended visuals of TOX number 5. Let's get started. It is again a very simple tweak. Essentially all that we're doing is removing this edge, right? Just double check if that fit's been connected into this comp twice. We only want it in there once. After this emboss, we're going to add an edge. We're then going to add this edge into the comp. We're going to just rejig the order of this so that it's emboss fit edge, emboss fit edge. We're going to change the operation to a top. As you can see, there is no background, so we're just going to add a quick RGB key. You could use a constant over, but RGB keys, I guess a simple, quick, easy fix. Just adds a black background generally. And yeah, we have successfully created the visuals of TOX number 5. So, TOX file number 6. These are the intended visuals. Kind of actually reminds me of the Otto 958 label or logo symbol from Kiko Kostadinov. But yeah, let's get into this. As is the case with, I mean, all of these TOX files really, we are building out this network, we're building out these systems, we're saving, collapsing these TOX files so that we can then use at a later date. And for this one, all that we're doing is adding a blur to this edge. We can get rid of the comp, we don't need that just now. We don't need anything input into this RGB key either. I'll just drag this over. Now that we've got our blur, we're going to open the parameters. We're going to change this to, what have we got? A pre-shrink of 3 and a filter size of 24. We're then going to add an edge after that. The parameters of which will be adjusted so that the strength is 1000. We're going to keep the edge color to white. You can obviously adjust any of these if you like. And then we're going to simply add this edge into the RGB key so that there's a black background. And there you have it. We have recreated the visuals of TOX file number 6. Of course, you can tweak the noise parameters as well, which will affect the outcome. Yeah, moving on. Okay, TOX number 7 now. And the intended visuals here are very much the same, or very similar rather, to what we just produced in TOX file number 6. All that we're doing here is simply adding a displace in between the edge and the RGB key. We are using the edge both as the input source but also the displacement source, and so it therefore displaces itself and gives this kind of flashy, grungy, surreal, dystopian feel. So these are the intended visuals for TOX number 9. We're skipping 8 because we'll come back to that. We use TOX 9 inside of 8. So here is the network. These are the intended visuals. Let me just go ahead and paste what we just made in TOX number 7. This was what we had, right? Now, as you can see, TOX number 9 is actually even simpler than that. So let's go ahead and remove the vertical gradient bars. We don't want those. Let's go ahead and realign these. So now all that we're doing is removing the blur, removing the edge, removing the displace, and after this initial edge we're just going to insert a mirror top. We're going to rotate by 90 degrees. Or are we? We're actually going to be rotating it by 45 degrees. And as you can see, we have now distorted our data to be that of a 45-degree angle diagonally. We just add, or we keep the RGB key, and here we are. We have recreated the intended output. Now, moving on to TOX number 8 with TOX number 9. Okay, and so this brings us to the last TOX file, last section of this video. This is TOX number 8. We are in fact using TOX number 9 within it, so forgive the confusion. We've got our noise. I am currently inside of a larger network, but the logic remains the same. I could replace this with, you know, an animated noise top as we have been doing. I've plugged that into the input of TOX number 9, which hopefully you should have had saved if you're following along. And we've then plugged that in, or daisy chained that rather, into TOX number 3. Within TOX number 3, there was a displaced top here just after the composite. I have removed that. Wasn't too happy with the intended outcome. And here we have what we actually wanted. So there we go. That brings us to the end of the video. A massive thank you to anyone that's actually watched this. As mentioned at the start of the video, links to the TOX files can be found in the description. I will be posting a lot more going forward, so keep an eye out. You can expect tutorials on TouchDesigner, but also a bunch of 3D stuff, a look at AI integration into workflows, video essays, anything remotely in that creative technology realm. So take care and all the best.